Hi, Kara Parker here with your November Quantum Human Design Celestial Weather Overview. So I have to start the month of November with a little bit of a review and a preview first for us to really maximize our understanding of what's actually happening here in November. So we're going to start first with an overview of what is a quantum human design year and when does it start. So our quantum human design year starts when the sun moves into the gate 41, sort of mid to late January. So 2024, our quantum human design new year starts on January 23. When the sun moves, as I said, moves into highlighting the gate 41, which is the gate of imagination. So we start our new year with imagination, with dreaming energy, right? Before we can dream, we have to finish up the work of the previous year. And so it's interesting to me that when we look at getting ourselves ready for cycles of growth and expansion, that those cycles in quantum human design actually start before, almost in the shadow of. It's sort of similar to the Jewish day. The Jewish day starts in the evening before. Well, the quantum human design year starts really in the cycle and the energies leading up to that new year. And that cycle actually starts November 6th of this year, 2023. Now, the quantum human design year is split into 4 quarters. Each one of these quarters has a different creative theme. These quarters bring us work, if you will, celestial themes that give us an assignment for what we need to be tackling and exploring and paying attention to if we're going to optimize our creative capacity. And so as we move into the end of our calendar year and the shadow, if you will, before 2024, we're moving into our 4th and final quarter on November the 6th. And that 4th and final quarter is called the quarter of recalibration. So our quarters always start on the incarnation cross of the Sphinx. That incarnation cross is a direction-giving cross. So we begin each creative quarter with the opportunity to reassess our direction, to reassess where we're going, to set the tone and the direction for our momentum forward. And on November the 6th, the sun highlights the gate 1, the gate of purpose, and the earth highlights the gate 2, the gate of allowing. Now, this is a really interesting energy for us to begin this quarter with, because the 1 is a yang-yang hexagram. It's the only hexagram that is, yang-yang, obviously. And of course, the 2, the gate of allowing, is a yin-yin hexagram. That yang-yang energy that is highlighted by the sun is explosive, right? It's pressurized. It's wanting to go out and push and get things started. And it's sort of interesting and ironic that the energy of getting started, that is the highlight of that gate 1, is really an energy of going inward. It's really an energy of sort of working in the shadow of what we seek to put out into the world later. So we're in this darkened phase as we go into this 4th creative cycle. It's a cycle that I like gardening, and so I always like to use gardening metaphors. It's sort of like at the end of your gardening season, you cut back all the green so that the roots get all their energy back, right? So that they're storing up and strengthening so that when it's time to emerge, they are ready again, right? We're preparing the bed for, at least where I live, we're preparing the bed for winter. This is again all a metaphor. It's not literal. So if you live in the Southern Hemisphere, this is a creative metaphor, not a literal metaphor. But where, you prepare the bed, you cut back the old growth, you keep things down to the root. In my case, where I live, I cover up the bed with hay to give it give the soil a little bit extra nutrients. It's in this cycle that we contemplate what worked and what was really powerful in our garden this year, right? So for me this year, it was a bad year to garden. We had a drought. And for whatever reason, we had like a massive wasp invasion this year. So, as I'm thinking about, wow, what really worked this year? Well, what worked this year were the plants that didn't need me to water them every single day, because I'm not good at watering plants every day. What really took off this year because of the wasps probably was the pear tree. We had a pear tree that was insane, right? these are all, again, I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole because I love to talk about my garden, but the bottom line is, we are entering into a phase where we're really picking up each little piece of everything we've created this year and looking at it and assessing it and exploring the question, what worked and what didn't. We're really, going into the shadow of preparation. We're doing the internal work necessary to set us up to begin to come out in our next creative cycle, which actually doesn't start until February. We're really looking at how do we take what we've experienced, the things that worked, the things that didn't, and reform and recast our magical dreams and spells and intentions and goals for the following year, for next year. Now, this particular cycle really brings us a lot of themes around integrity. We have the gate 26 highlighted during this cycle. We have a lot of gates that show up around the root center in this cycle. So there's this very interesting exploration around what do we need to have in place in order to influence time and timing. The root center, called the Divine Timing Center in Quantum Human Design, is a center that regulates time and timing. Time and timing is the one thing we cannot control as humans. We can influence it, but we really can't work against it. If we push against time and timing, because that root center is the adrenaline center, what actually happens is we push against right timing with adrenaline, with force, and we run the risk ultimately of actually burning ourselves out, pushing against right timing, using all of our energy and efforts to do something when the timing is wrong. And so this cycle also invites us to explore, how do we need to bring ourselves into harmony with right timing so that we can be empowered and powerful and resourced and in integrity, so that we're not creating using our willpower, pushing, but rather creating through a state of deep alignment, which, by the way, is like the theme for 2024. 2024 is going to continue to push on us and push on us and push on us to be in integrity with our truth, to be in integrity with our authentic self, to be in integrity with relentless clarity about who we are, what we want, what we need, and how does this expression of the self integrate diplomatically into the needs of the greater good, and how do we do both, right? How do we be true to ourselves and also make sure that the way in which we are creating is balanced and harmonious and peaceful? So, this exploration is certainly part of this quarter, but also sort of a lot of what we're going to be talking about next year. It's also a time when we have to explore not only our integrity with our value, not only our sense of time and timing, but also our willingness to stand in our conviction, to speak our truth, and to be uncompromising in our self-expression. So we are going deeply inward to really look at, how do we be honest about what we want and who we are, and how do we bring that honest dialogue into our relationships, into our work, into our creative self-expression, into even our spirituality. So this deep theme of purpose comes up, and of course it initiates this with the gate 1, it initiates this entire cycle where we're really looking at, who are you? Who is the you within the we? Who is the me within the we? Right? So this is a big sort of overarching theme that we're working on until the beginning of February. Now, our gates for November, we have the sun starting off in the gate 44. That's that place where we're revisiting the patterns of the past and exploring whether those patterns are actually holding us back from gaining momentum. After the gate 44, we move into the gate 1. Sun moves into the gate 1, this gate of purpose, starting off this new quarter in the beginning of November. We then move to the gate 43, the gate of insight. And so we are suddenly struck with new possibilities, new ideas, new ways of thinking. Those new ways of thinking can oftentimes refer to money and how we work, because the sun highlights the gate 14, inviting us to really contemplate, can we be authentic in the way in which we work? And of course, the sun then moves to the gate 34, asking us, can we also be powerful and empowered? You can see that in my garden, I still have the flies from outside coming in. It was a year of winged insects. So the sun moves from the 43, the 14 to the 34, exploring, can we be authentically powerful? And how much influence do we have when we're authentically aligned? By the way, a lot. We actually have less influence when we're being dishonest. We are less influential when we're not in integrity. We think we have to fight and scrap and push and usurp as part of our power. But actually what the chart shows us is that the greatest place of power that you can occupy, which is actually going to be our first full moon of the new year, is going to be all about power. You're most powerful when you're real, when you're authentic, when you're honest. Because that embodiment of honesty and authenticity, that's actually not only powerful, it's compelling, and a keynote, the key foundational pieces of what defines freedom. When you are living from that authentic place, you're radically compelling. You're very attractive because people want to follow you because you have what they want. They want that same thing, not in your way, but in their way. And so we become influential when we are in alignment with our authentic self. And we finish up the month of November then with the sun highlighting gate 9. What do we want to focus on? And is there anything in our field that's distracting us and keeping us from really keeping ourselves focused on where we're headed next? I couldn't really serve you well without talking about, well, what influences time and timing, because that is our theme for this quarter. And I want to remind you, if we go back and we look at the channels connecting the root center to either the spleen, to the sacral, or the emotional solar plexus, that when we look at those channels give us codes, if you will, for how to influence time and timing. And we see that if we want to make the time or create the time, or at least influence the time, then we have to do a couple of things, and those things are included in those channels. The first thing we have to do is we have to make sure that whatever it is we're building towards is deeply rooted in something that brings us joy. Where it drives us enough, we're driven enough in our joy that we're willing to do whatever work necessary to keep pushing forward. The 3828 off the left-hand side of the root center says that we have to be building towards a big dream. Whatever it is, if we've compromised, if we've rationalized, if we've settled. By the way, that's a big theme of the month of November too. That's a secondary theme. No more rationalizing, no more settling, but I'll get to that in a minute. If we've compromised and rationalized on our dream and we've pared it down to what we think is possible instead of taking quantum leaps of faith, then we don't do the work necessary. It doesn't inspire us enough to keep moving, and we lose our momentum. So sometimes when people say, I feel stuck, I'm like, are you dreaming big enough? And they say, no, not really. Dream bigger. That's oftentimes the very first thing you can do to get that juice going, and that actually influences time and timing. The next thing that influences time and timing through the 5432 is we got to do the work necessary to set the stage to be ready for the dream to come true. If you're not laying that foundation, if you're not making sure that your life is prepped for that receptivity, prepped for that thing, whatever it is you're intending to drop into your reality, if you're not ready for it yet, if you haven't done the work, it's not going to happen. And so we have to really ask ourselves, have I set it up to where I can be invited? I can have something to respond to. Magic can unfold and I can really fulfill my dream because I'm ready for it. Everything in my life is prepped, right? The next thing that influences time and timing through the 5342 is, is there unfinished business you need to take care of? Are there things you need to finish up? Do you need to clean your closets, clean your garage? Do you have unfinished business that you've got to handle? Do you have accounting that you need to do, taxes you need to pay, difficult conversations that you need to have? If we don't have room to put something new, it doesn't show up because the universe is like, where are you going to put this if I give it to you, right? The 63 tells, the 60 and the 3 tells us that innovation and growth and timing is influenced by the energy of, we don't like this one often, the energy of gratitude, because sometimes we don't want to be grateful, right? But really we experience growth and expansion when we recognize and notice what works and we experience gratitude for it. Gratitude is really just focused heart attention. The 952 coming off the top right-hand side of the root center says we influence time and timing when we're focused. And so we get an invitation in this cycle to really explore, what do we need to move out of the way that might be distracting us from having the momentum that we need to build towards what it is we're intending. The 1949 on the right-hand side going towards the emotional solar plexus says You will influence time and timing when you have a support group, when you've got people with their hands on your back, people who can stand in the gap of your faith when you might have a day when you don't have faith yourself, people who can tell you, you got this. We need each other to cheer each other on, to put our hands on each other's back and push ourselves, push each other forward. The 3955, again, root centered to the emotional solar plexus, says, you will influence time and timing to the degree to which you have faith. Meaning you've got to believe in the unseen. You've got to believe in the vision. And even if you don't see a whole lot of evidence in the moment that it's about to happen, your faith will influence time and timing. Last but not least, that 4130, that's kind of where we get started in the new year. In January, that 41 says you got to have a vision. You got to visualize and consistently envision the end vision if you're going to get there. That if you are not, really putting your energy on crafting, and this is not about making that actual vision true. It's about, it's about using your imagination to stimulate emotional frequencies, excitement, anticipation, faith. It's really a vital part of the creative process to sit with your imagination. In fact, I would encourage you in this cycle to put on your schedule every week time to just sit and dream, time to just take the time to really explore through the power of your imagination. What else is possible? What do I really want? How can I create what I really want? And use your dreams to start really holding the energy, the emotional energy of possibility in your creative process. So this is how we influence time. One last little piece I want to add for the month of November. We have in our theme this month the gate 24. It is highlighted by Jupiter. It's also, with the beginning of the month, it's actually an energy that's held by the earth as well. So Jupiter's our place of blessings, our place of expansion. What we have in this combination, because it also plays with Saturn, what Saturn says in the gate 55, the gate of faith, is that if you have faith, you'll be able to expand to the degree to which you dream, right? Faith is one of those timing influences. Jupiter, which is where our reward comes if we do the work of Saturn. So if we have enough faith, Jupiter says you'll stop rationalizing and settling for less than what you want. So we are in this deep exploration right now of really looking at where have you settled for less than? Where have you compromised on your dreams? Where have you stopped allowing yourself to experience the support that you need for your relentlessly authentic self-expression? Where have you justified and again, rationalized or settled for receiving less than what you want? When we clean that mess up, when you really stand in your integrity, one of the themes of this month, one of the themes of this quarter, when you stand in your integrity and you say, I am a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. I am an irreplaceable part of the cosmic plan. This isn't ego. This is about an honest assessment of your unique role in this cosmic plan. There's never been anybody like you before. There will never be anybody like you again. You are very important in the cosmos. And because of that, you deserve to be supported and taken care of. You deserve to fulfill those dreams that you have, because those dreams are part of your destiny. Those are things you were born to do. Those were the things you were born to manifest. And if you compromise on them because you're like, I don't really know how, or I'm not really going to be able to do that. I don't know if I deserve that. When we compromise on that and we don't take those leaps of faith, we just get profoundly stuck. And we just sit in a meh kind of a life. We're not bold. We don't grow. We try to find contentment in mediocre. And the truth is, next year, you won't have any wiggle room on that. Next year, if it's not fabulous and fantastic and deeply in alignment with your authentic self, it's going to explode. I'm not saying that from a negative and scary way. I'm saying the universe loves you enough to look at your life and say, honey, that's not right. You've settled for way less than what you want. Let's take that apart, right? Let's take this apart too. And really what's happening next year is we're getting this beautiful canvas that's setting us up to be profoundly aligned with our authentic self, with the bigness of our dreams, to stop settling and rationalizing for less than what we want, to use our alignment with our bigger purpose in life as the spark of energy that keeps us moving forward so that we can begin the process of building a just, equitable, sustainable, abundant, and peaceful world. There's not going to be any more wiggle room at this point. There's not going to be any more training wheels, honestly, at this point. By next year, we have to put pedal to the metal and be consciously and deliberately intentional. We have to use a better true story of who you are and what you deserve as the keystone for what we manifest next. So big stuff coming up. Certainly, I would say November is a really, really, really good year, a really good month. Sorry, it'll feel like a year, but a really good month for you to explore who are you? Who is the you that's creating your reality? Do you like the story you're telling? Is there anything in this story that you are rationalizing and settling for less than? Do you need to move those things out of the way? and what do you need to do to prepare for next year? What do you need to do to start setting the stage to be ready for growth and expansion and creativity and adaptability and facility and all those really powerful things that are going to support you in manifesting the fulfillment of your true self next year? That's it. I've had a couple of emails, or actually a bunch of emails from people who are wanting to know where they can get more information about the transits. If you're curious and you want to get a weekly transit report so you can plan your week and learn more about your unique chart and get personal coaching and connection with me and in a beautiful community, join our Understanding Human Design membership community. I'll post the link below. In this community, you get all kinds of access to free courses and trainings, live weekly coaching programs, just an incredible community, and your weekly quantum human design evolution report so you can make the most out of every week. That's it. That's all I got for you this month. Have a great month. I'll talk to you in December.